He thought the cave was empty, until he saw a starving alien mother clutching her child. The rain came down in silver needles, driven sideways by the wind that howled through the mountain pass. Nathan Hale pulled the hood of his jacket tighter around his face and pushed forward. He'd been hiking for hours, scouting the jagged ridges for signs of a lost research drone, but the storm had rolled in faster than forecasted, turning the slopes into slick death traps. He spotted the cave by accident, a shadow at the base of a limestone cliff, half hidden by ferns and moss. His boots squelched in mud as he ducked beneath the overhang. Inside, the air was cool and still, carrying the damp scent of stone. The beam of his flashlight swept over bare rock walls and empty ground. He exhaled. "Perfect," he muttered. "Shelter." The cave was shallow, maybe 30 feet deep, with a ceiling low enough that he had to stoop. He set his pack down and shrugged out of his wet jacket. The silence was thick, broken only by the faint hiss of rain outside. Then faintly, so faintly he thought he imagined it, came a sound. A whimper. Nathan froze, the hairs on his arms prickling. He slowly turned his flashlight toward the deeper shadows at the far end of the cave. The light caught movement. A figure stirred in the corner, pulling back as if the beam burned. It wasn't human. It was small at first glance, frail, skeletal, but as his eyes adjusted he saw more. A long-limbed, almost willowy body, wrapped in what looked like strips of dark fabric or skin. The head was elongated, the features narrow, with eyes so large they reflected his flashlight like pools of molten silver. And in its thin arms, pressed close to its chest, was something smaller. Child. Nathan's breath caught. The alien, there was no other word, was clutching the tiny figure with desperate protectiveness, its arms forming a cage around the child's fragile body. The little one's eyes were closed, its breaths shallow. They were starving. Both of them. Nathan swallowed hard. Every instinct screamed to back away. Leave before whatever this was decided he was a threat. But the mother's gaze wasn't hostile. It was wary and exhausted. She looked like she'd been hiding here for days, maybe weeks. "Hey," Nathan said softly, lowering his flashlight so it didn't shine directly on them. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The alien blinked slowly, her head tilting in a way that was both cautious and curious. Nathan realized she was too weak to move much. Her hands trembled as she adjusted the child in her arms. He dug through his pack, pulling out a protein bar and his water flask. He placed them halfway between them on the cave floor and backed away. For a long moment nothing happened. Then the mother shifted, so slowly it was painful to watch. She reached for the bar, sniffed it, and broke off the tiniest piece for the child. The little one chewed sluggishly, then swallowed. Only then did she eat a fragment herself. Nathan sat on the other side of the cave, pretending not to watch. The storm outside roared, a curtain of water sealing them in. The night in the cave. Hours passed. Nathan learned not to make sudden movements. Each time the mother fed the child, she'd glance at him, as if weighing his intentions. She drank from his water flask but left half for him, which struck him as strange. She was starving, yet she showed restraint. At some point, Nathan drifted into uneasy sleep. When he woke, the fire in his portable heater had gone out, and the cave was lit only by faint dawn light seeping through the entrance. The alien mother was watching him. Not aggressively, more like she was studying him as he had studied her. Her eyes were softer now, though her body still curled protectively around the child. Nathan tried speaking again. "You're not from here, are you?" It was a stupid question, but he felt the need to fill the silence. The mother tilted her head. Then to his surprise she made a sound. Not words exactly, but a soft series of tones, almost like a lullaby. She gestured vaguely toward the ceiling of the cave. Then to the child. Nathan thought he understood. You came from up there. And you're hiding here. She didn't nod. Maybe she didn't know the gesture. But her gaze didn't contradict him. A dangerous world outside. By midday the rain eased. Nathan knew he couldn't stay. His team would be searching for him, and if anyone else found this cave, someone less sympathetic, it could mean disaster for her and the child. He weighed his options. Bringing them with him wasn't safe. His outpost was run by a corporate security division that would treat her like a lab specimen. Leaving them here without supplies was unthinkable. He made his decision. I'll bring you food, he said. I'll come back tonight. She couldn't understand the words, but maybe she sensed his intent. When he stood, she tensed, but didn't block his way. Nathan hiked back down the ridge, moving fast. He told no one about what he'd found. At the supply shed, he stuffed a second pack with rations. Dried fruit, water pouches, thermal blankets. He even grabbed a med kit. By the time he returned, night was falling. The mother was still there, exactly as he'd left her. When he set the supplies down, her silver eyes widened. She touched the water pouches first, then wrapped the blanket around the child. It was the first time he saw her relax, just a fraction. The story she couldn't tell. Over the next 3 days, Nathan came back each evening. He kept the visits short. Too much human scent or noise might attract attention from other patrols, but each time the mother grew a little less tense. She began making more sounds, soft musical syllables. Sometimes she'd point toward the cave entrance, then mimic something falling, rain? Or maybe the crash that had brought her here. Once she held out a small piece of metal to him, curved, scorched with alien etchings. He understood then. Her ship had gone down in the mountains. She and her child were the only survivors. He wanted to promise her safety, to say he'd help her get home, but he didn't know if home was even possible anymore. The threat. On the 4th evening, he was halfway to the cave when he saw movement on the ridge above. 2 figures in corporate patrol armor, scanning with thermal scopes. Nathan's stomach dropped. If they found the cave, she was finished. He took a detour, scrambling along a narrow ledge until he reached the entrance from the far side. Inside, the mother sensed his urgency immediately. Her eyes darted toward the mouth of the cave, and she pulled the child close. "They're coming," Nathan whispered, even though she couldn't understand. He gestured for her to follow him deeper, toward a narrow fissure in the back wall he'd noticed before. The gap was barely wide enough for them to squeeze through, but it led to a hidden alcove beyond. They huddled there in the dark, the child trembling between them. Voices echoed faintly from the cave. Boots scraped on stone. A beam of light swept the main chamber. Nathan's pulse pounded in his ears. If they checked the fissure,